This episode of GuildCast is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/Gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to GuildCast episode 83 for August 14, 2013. You're watching Gamebreaker. I'm Gary Gannon, and today, so long to culling. So long. Permanent events and money. All that and more, but first, of course, joining us as always, Mr. Richie Procopio. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, Mr. Gannon. How are you?
Excellent. It's Wednesday, here to talk about some Guild Wars 2. So I'm excited to learn. And joining us again with his hair looking so fabulous and big, Mr.
Oh, it did
Visual.
fit. It did fit in the frame.
It fit. I had to change the framing a little bit, but it is pretty fantastic.
I was about to put on back my hat. I was like, oh, it's just easier. Just swipe it on. It's all good.
Nah, rock it, man. So let's see. First up, Redditor AnyZoom discovered the upcoming Ranger Pet Silvari Cat in the data files. Have you seen this?
Kind of like the data mining.
You haven't seen this?
Silvari Cat.
Silvari Cat.
Silvari Cat wouldn't.
Let us see it.
Hold on, someone data mined a picture, and those graphics, dude.
Unbelievable! I mean, we've always known that Guild Wars 2 had some amazing art direction, but damn, they've knocked it out of the park.
Definitely. Look at the creases in that wood. You can even see a little bit of dirt in there.
You really can.
Was that intentional?
It's fine attention to detail right there.
Man, so many people running on their potatoes are gonna crash their systems. Yeah.
All right, now that we've got the big news out of the way for the week, let's move on to the next update. So, the Queen realized that maybe, I guess, she shouldn't have spent all her money on an underground stadium that's shut down for 11 months of the year. So, she's going to make a speech to apologize. Our Scottish producer tells us that the British Queen makes a speech every year. So, that's where that's coming from. Any guesses on what she's going to be talking about? Anybody? Tax raises to pay for some more of those sex bots? What's going on?
I don't know. She's gonna address us and talk about different things. But I don't know if you saw the update today to the actual official website. Somebody they put up the announcement page for the Queen's speech, right? And it's got some cool things in it, but in general, it seems to be a pretty laid back patch compared to some of the other ones we've been getting, right? But today, the whole webpage got graffitied and smeared over, and they drew X's over her eyes and stuff like that. And so it looks like there's going to be someone crashing the party. And there's a little,
anarchists.
Yeah, there's a little poem that's been sent out with these crazy little
pocket
watches.
You know what? I need. You know what? I need connections. You guys need to give me connections. I want that watch.
Matt, look into my eyes.
Oh my gosh, you guys receive all this cool stuff.
He's hypnotizing you with the watch.
So let me read what this says, because this is interesting.
Can you just read it to Matt? Read it to Matt.
I'll read it to Matt.
Oh, I saw it. I saw it already on Guru.
But I didn't read it to you.
You didn't read it to you. He's going to read it to you now.
Of course.
Just sort of rub it in. To rub in the jelly.
It says, tick-tock goes the clock. It's almost time to stop. Something you all must... not visual. Something you must all understand. Your world is built upon fog and sand. You're out of time. Visual. Your jig is done. It's time for Scarlet to have her fun, Matt Visual. She has some hard lessons to teach to the people of Divinity's Reach. So mark the date in permanent ink. The hour is later than you think. On the 20th day, she'll start her games and warm her hands over Krytus Flames, Matt Visual. Out of here. So, looks like Scarlet, the villain that we don't know much about, but was mentioned with the whole Sky Pirates and Mytrin thing. Looks like she's going to rear her ugly head on the 20th of the month and mess up the Queen's speech. So the patch suddenly got more interesting once
It just heated up. That's really interesting. And on the 20th, man, that cadence of content. Here we go. The 20th.
There's no way. Like I saw that post and I was like, this is it? What's going on? I mean, the culling was good. I was like, oh, it's gonna be one of those patches where they're gonna introduce a good feature and then they're gonna leave everything else and probably cycle in all the other events that they had for Crown Pavilion and all that. But man, then this came out, like, because I was like, all right, I gotta come up with some theories, like, oh, the Watch Knights are gonna come back and the crazy Savari from the Living Story is gonna come and do some craziness when she's doing her queen speech. Maybe she's gonna ride in her little airships and team up with the dredges or something. It's something was gonna happen. So now that I actually see this, it might be good. It might be more to it, and they're probably gonna add it in after the patch goes live or couple days before.
It says Scarlett's gonna have her fun on the 20th, which is the day that the patch goes live, if I'm not totally mistaken. But you make an interesting point. We mentioned last week that the Watch Knights, this is a terrible idea, right? Like, let's put the protection of Divinity's Reach under the control of these like automatons, right? These robots. And the beginning of this actual poem says, "Tick-tock goes the clock. It's almost time to stop." Is that referencing the Watch Knights at all? I don't know. It's interesting stuff.
I mean, that sure sounds like a pretty good reference. I think it's a pretty good connecting the dots.
Yeah.
I mean, although there's no sign of Sylvari Cat so far, there is a major feature, I guess, that's kind of cool. And that is, yes, the end of culling in PvP, or PvE, excuse me, PvE.
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about this last week, wondering what was going on with this? And
yeah. It was. We were like, "What is the status of that? Why? This has been a long time coming." And all of a sudden, they must listen to the show and like make all of their patch plans based on it.
Finally.
It's crazy because I, like a lot of people, I'm pretty sure a lot of people on the stream have been farming like crazy those champions, right? And there's a lot of people in one spot, and you cannot see anything when you're farming these events. Like, people will be right in front of you, and you wouldn't know. And so it's like came in at such a crucial point. Like, oh, guess what? You're having all these problems with all this, this big group events that we're having in Ore. Guess what? Now we're removing culling. But I can't imagine what's going to happen to all those people who run very low systems that, the culling might have been saving their frames. Now they're probably going to get like 1 frame per minute, So I don't know how that's going to go.
Well, we do have some details. We have some details on how it's going to be implemented. Colin Johansson had this to say. He said, the setting adjustments you can make currently will expand beyond just WDub and simply be a game-wide setting. You apply for culling rules. For most folks, this means you can adjust the settings to actually improve your performance over current performance if you wish, since fallback methods and name tags are cheaper than full tag or full model renders. He says, if you want to turn everything up to insane, you'll also have that option to see an extremely large number of people in all their graphics glory. The choice is entirely yours. So they'll be basically expanding the WDub system out to the entire game, basically. I mean, that's basically what they're saying. So, which seems to have worked very well in PvE. So I don't know why this system wouldn't work very well in PvE. Yeah, I don't know. I think what you bring up though, Matt, is a pretty interesting thing, because I think it's really hard to get an accurate measure on performance from the community of how this is gonna work. But how have you and your guildies like found WDubs with all the culling options since they're all out there?
Better. I'm fine with all the settings. When we go out there, I just put it on like on medium-ish, and then because you have an option basically. If you put it on low, you won't be able to see like what type of gear they have. It'll be like all just one color, and you'll just see shapes, and that's it. If you move up, you actually see the effects and stuff like that. So far, it's been pretty good. It hasn't broken my system yet, so I put it up on medium-ish, and it seems to run pretty fine.
How about you, Rich?
Yeah, I've been doing about the same. If I'm streaming or actually recording, then I have to tweak it down a little bit lower. But otherwise, I've actually been able to max it, and it's been pretty good. There's also an important thing to note. They're going to be stress testing this feature by turning off culling at random places and random times on random servers and stuff from now until when the patch goes live. So they're kind of stress testing
that's interesting.
So don't be surprised if all of a sudden you're seeing things that are a little out of the ordinary until the patch.
So you're running it at max?
I usually run it. Well, I mean, I don't do world versus world all that often, but yes, I run it at max, and I haven't had much of a problem with it.
So what do you guys think it'll be like in PvE? I mean, do you think people will need like a beast of a machine to actually remove it completely?
It depends on what kind of experience do you want, right? Is it critically important that you see every single person that's on the screen fighting this boss with you, or is it important that you have more of a smooth performance and you're going to be able to tweak it? I mean, that's the best reason. I mean, that's why it's good that they're giving you these options rather than just turning it off, right? So you can just play with what you want, how you want it to be. Do you want it to
Charon
be
wants to know your specs. They're dying to know like what you're running. So I guess that's kind of important for the conversation. Like what kind of video card are you running?
I have my PC's 2 years old, so it's not.
Oh,
it's not
wow!
top
So
of the line.
you're not even that current. Okay.
I hate getting low frames. So that's why I put mine on medium. I have an i7 4770K and a GTX 570. And I run everything on max, graphics wise. And then for that, I just kind of tweak it down a little bit just in case. Because some of those fights, there's just so many people on screen that I don't know, like Guild Wars just can't push it to me for some reason. Doesn't work too good. Even with the culling in when I'm farming, recently with the champions, it still goes down to like 25 frames. And it gets, it's like it still gets a little hectic. And even if you put it down to like low settings, it doesn't change it. It doesn't change it much because it's mostly just Guild Wars 2 that's the issue. So hopefully this culling kind of fixes that issue.
I was gonna say either
Culling
way.
Options.
Yeah, either way. I mean, if your machine can't handle it, you're gonna hopefully see improvements on what at least we have now. So is this? I don't actually even know. Is Guild Wars 2? I never actually had a problem running it ever, but I've got a pretty decent machine. Is it very CPU intense? Yes. I've heard that. It's very CPU instead of GPU, right? So upgrading your video card for this game particularly is not a bad idea, of course. The more GPU power, the better, but it's not like some games where sometimes an easy fix is just upgrading the video card.
Right. I did a test. I used to have an AMD 8120. Right, and that's an 8-core processor. It's about almost 2 years old, maybe around 2 years old, and I upgraded to the new Haswell. The frame jump was ridiculous. Like I used to get about 30, around 30-ish frames in Lion's Arch. When I got that on the same settings, I got over 100.
Wow!
So it's like all CPU based, but when there's a bunch of people in front of you, it still gets a little hectic. So hopefully this culling fixes that. But yeah,
so it sounds like I'm just gonna take a stab at it and say that if you've got like a pretty new CPU and you maybe go for a 600 series NVIDIA card or something, you're probably going to be in that range of probably being able to run everything on max and remove the culling, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, and there's more to it than that, right? I mean, what's the shadow detail set at, right? Because if you have that at high, I mean, the shadows are gorgeous in Guild Wars 2, but they're a beast, right? You have those on high, then that's going to, be a detriment. You have post-processing enabled. So there's more than just, the culling settings. There's, what are the other visual settings that you're looking at? So if you want to play with everything at max and turn off culling completely, all right, well, you might have some more problems, but maybe you'll have better luck if you turn like the shadows down low and turn post-processing off and then have it. So, everyone's got to tweak their individual thing and see what works for them and what kind of experience they want to have.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how people kind of fare with this thing. I got to say, I still got to give kudos for ArenaNet to actually give some of these options and sliders because other games in the past that not necessarily even just talking about culling, but more in general, when like people have said, well, why don't you just give us the options? They tend to not do that. And this is one of those times when they really kind of stuck their neck out a bit and just giving us the options to kind of like dial it in perfectly. So that's cool. So other than the removal of culling, the 1 year anniversary of the game is actually coming up August 20th. I can't believe it's been a year already.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And all the characters that are 1 year old will be getting birthday gifts. What are we getting?
We're getting a mini pet. I'm pulling this from memory. We're getting a mini pet of Queen Jenna. Then we're getting a 24-hour birthday booster, which I don't know. I don't know what that does. I don't know if you guys know anything about that. And we're getting an experience scroll, which is the one that boosts your character up to from 1 to 20.
Yeah, there was also some data mining that said that everybody would be awarded with 200 gems from the gem store as well.
That's it.
But we'll see.
Data mining.
More, please.
I have a little. There's also the when some of this is tied to when your actual characters hit 1 year old, right? Because this is how they did it in Guild Wars 1. Your character had a birthday from when they were created, and you would get mini pets and different things like that to celebrate. One thing, this is going to rub a little bit of salt in my wounds. I don't know if you remember, but I had the account issues when Guild Wars first launched. So
right.
I had like 12 days or so on one account.
But isn't this for characters that were literally created 365 days ago? It's not just an anniversary thing for the game.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So you just have to wait a little bit longer, but you're going to get them.
Oh, I'll get them. Oh, I'm not saying I won't get them. I'm just saying that most people who play at launch will be celebrating 12 days earlier than me. But yet again, that issue comes back like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it on my.
Richie, you gotta wait. You gotta wait. So, Matt,
well, you got a pocket watch.
You can get me back, Matt. And
yeah, there you go.
No. I want that watch. How all right. Arena sends these stuff out. How good is that watch? Like, is it plated gold with diamonds encrusted?
Yeah, it's platinum. It's worth like $18,000.
I can tell you it's made in China. It says it right there.
Oh gosh, the little orphan children that crafted that watch.
Oh, don't say that. Would either of you guys expect any kind of anniversary gift for the game itself? I seem to remember the Guild Wars 2 baseball cap we all got to launch. Remember that? No?
No, we did.
I thought I picked it up, but I think I don't see it.
That is also on my other account, which I no longer have access to.
Oh, boo-hoo.
No more baseball.
Richie Procopio. What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to get anything like that?
You know what? We could get some surprises because, up until this afternoon, we thought that this patch was going to be a little bit light for a 1 year anniversary celebration, right? And then all of a sudden, graffiti came and all this kind of stuff. So who knows? Maybe what they've already announced as the rewards and celebrations is just like the tip of the iceberg, and there's actually some surprises to be had, which I'd be happy with because I like not knowing what's going to happen beforehand. I'm not a big fan of everything being spoiled, so I hope there are some surprises for us.
Now, none of what we've talked about so far up until this point is what I'm really excited about.
Okay.
If you complete the achievements for the Queen's speech,
yes.
You get an infinite use sex bot tonic. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. When I saw that, I was like, no, they're not. They're not.
Yeah.
I wonder how tall are they going to be, really tall?
Sex bot tonic. Sex box.
You can't even say it.
Super adventure sex box.
Oh,
sex box 360.
Oh gosh.
The RP community after this patch is going to be very, very different. That's for sure.
Oh, they're going to be dating watch nights now.
All right. I got some Anthony Orden quotes to go over. First, I'm going to tell you guys about Shutterstock. If you guys check out Shutterstock, if you guys have a website or a YouTube channel, you make videos, you're a producer, what do? You probably do something visual. I'm almost there. Matt Visual is very visual. His name is Matt Visual. But I'm sure a lot of you out there watching this show have YouTube channels, have websites, guild website, that sort of thing. I'm telling you, Shutterstock is the secret weapon of Gamebreaker. You got to go over and check it out. They have just tons and tons of stock photography, vector artworks. Here, I was doing some searches last night or yesterday on video game stuff. We're going to be changing over Gamebreaker.tv to a new format. We needed a bunch of new icons and stuff, and I was looking for video game icons. So these are all vector icons. You've got Xbox remotes, all different kinds of things. PC, you can find like all that kind of stuff. Maybe you need like a caricature for your YouTube page or something. There's all kinds of stuff like that. You got these little 8-bit guys here. You can select your character. This artwork is just awesome. So everything comes with a license. I mean, you pay for a monthly fee on Shutterstock, and then you can download this stuff on a daily basis and utilize all of this stuff on your YouTube page or on your website or anything like that. Because you don't want to just like go stealing people's artwork. So these artists are really talented, go over here and they put their stuff up on Shutterstock, and then they license it out to you, and you can use it, and it's totally legit, and your site looks awesome because of it. I want to save you guys 30% off. All you got to do is go over to Shutterstock, make an account. You don't even have to sign up today. You can actually make a free account and start searching all of their different stuff there and saving it into what are called light boxes. You could kind of save it and hold on to it for later, stuff that you find you might want to use. And then if you decide to join up, all you got to do is make sure you use promo code Gamebreaker8. Just use that promo code in the checkout, and you will save 30% off on the Shutterstock. Love, love, love the Shutterstock. I just wanted to go back to the quad cam, and this is what it was looking like. So,
wow, Two-Face. Two-Face.
That was weird.
So Anthony Orden, he jumped on the forums, had some pretty interesting stuff to say. This is what he had to say. He said, so some 40 or so permanent events were added around the game in our very first content update. They were met with little interest or fanfare. Granted, Halloween may have stolen the show, but those events are still in the game today. I've seen very little reaction to them, however positive or negative. He went on to say, despite this, there are many events I would still like to add. Many zones and bosses I would love to revisit. As we get better at the living world, I strongly suspect we'll have room to get around to them as well, assuming that's what our players really want. I'm not calling out Anthony here, just ArenaNet in general. It's hardly a surprise they weren't noticed.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Just saying. They were all scattered around the game, right? There's no way of like telling if they're new, there's a holiday during. I mean, why would they be noticed? People probably love the events. They just didn't realize that they were actually even new.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There's been times where I go to a new zone and I see something that I haven't seen before, and I don't know if this was something recently added, if this was something that added during the Halloween, or if this was something that's there from the beginning that I just might have missed. There's no way to know it. There was a lot of attention put on the Mad King and all of the things that they added there, but they also put in some really cool jumping puzzles then as well, right? Some new jumping puzzles, and they're some of the best jumping puzzles. I recently for Geek Week I did a top 10 epic encounters in Guild Wars 2, and I included Vex's Lab, which I think was added during the same patch. And these things really weren't advertised well, I think, from ArenaNet, and they really weren't talked about much as a result. But they're some of the coolest content in the game. So I don't think that the community is just lackluster or apathetic about adding new events to the game. I just think they need to be themed a little bit, or maybe we need to be directed to them a little bit. And I think there's definitely room for new events in the game.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like new. It doesn't seem like players are not looking for these events. That's for sure. It just seems like it was a poor implementation and just lack of sort of communication around them. And maybe they thought that was a good way to kind of do some of this stuff and just around natural exploration, people would find them. But it's not really working. So I agree. I think a little bit more sort of theming around them and tying them together with some of the larger things maybe or something would probably be a better way to kind of revisit this for new stuff. I don't think it would just like scattering random events around the world is probably the way to go. Yeah. And especially trying to tie the living story all together.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like I said, I think they should put it in some sort of package so you kind of know where to go or what to do. I mean, I remember talking about this before launch, and we were saying that they're going to have like a live team, right? And they can phase, they can take a particular zone, even like one of the earlier zones, and they can phase some of the events so that they only happen like less frequently, or even remove them and add some new ones in that suddenly become more frequent. And so every time you kind of go through the zone, you're like, oh wow, there's some new things to see. And while there is an element of that it's cool, if you're going to have a patch where you put in, a couple dozen new events, that's really probably not the way to do it. You don't want to have three new events.
I wonder if they could be pretty subtle about it though, but maybe like write some sort of like, text on the website and lore or something around it where it's a little bit more like stuck in there, but it's not like, hey, this is the big attention grabber about, centaurs have begun roaming into Sylvari lands or something to the effect of like people will probably pick up on like where they're going with that possibly, but
Sure.
they don't have to like, you know, have a flashing, blinking light saying like new events, like, but somehow weave it in. I mean, there's a clear, at least if you can weave it into having a clear story, I think players might look for it because I'm reading into this more than anything, but I'm wondering if they want players to sort of find some of these things and then socially start telling each other about them. Like, oh, did you see about this cool thing where, you know, you see the centaurs, they start roaming into Sylvari land. You're like, no, I haven't seen that. And you're like, oh yeah, come over and check it out. They probably want a little of that is what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But I think you have to seed it.
Yeah, they've done some things like that, and I'm not saying they don't add any events like that. I mean, like take this most recent patch, right? They have these balloons all over the world, right? And to access the balloons to fly to Divinity's Reach, you have to do these different events and stuff like that. And some of them are escorts, and some of them are sky pirates coming down from their airships and different things like that. Some of them are little mini bosses. So these are new events that are put into the game, but they're tied to this living story. They're tied to this, this non-permanent content. And so players can experience them. We know where to look for them, and we know that they're new. So that's the good news. And then but it doesn't exactly scratch the same itch of having new events that are permanently infused into the world. So I agree with you. Doing something like a little tease. Hey, something's happening in this area. Go check it out. There's new events, and instead of sprinkling 2 or 3 per zone, because I just don't think that works.
Also, may even be interesting if you start if they do sort of like the live in-game little like, you know, alerts maybe to kind of alert you to little things of like, you know, if you get into an area or something. I don't know. I think there's different ways that they could definitely communicate that a little bit better. Moving on, NCSoft had their Q2 quarter 2 2013 earnings call this week, so get out your notepads if you want to take some notes and numbers. Redditor Live Spartan 235 pulled out the bullet points. Big thanks and ups to him over on the Reddits. Guild Wars 2 has had, you ready for this? 28.9 billion which is about $25.83 million.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Profit?
Yeah. Oh, that's quarter 3. I mean, that's not. I don't think they're breaking that out as profit as far as P&L.
No.
Box sales have weakened as expected. But they said gem store sales have remained consistent and are stable. Overall, both the gem store and the box sales have remained fairly strong. Wow. I don't think any major surprises here. Pretty much what we expected, but that's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice number. The gem store had to have been doing well. This content cadence isn't coming out of nowhere, so it's pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
And we also we've not heard any big 4 million box sale announcements, right?
No.
We've not heard any big. We haven't heard about any big milestones or anything in a long time. I'm sure to original Guild Wars 2 players, this is actually a stupid question, but I don't know if we've actually discussed it. If ArenaNet do come out with an expansion, do you think it'll be a standalone? No need to buy the original game?
How was Guild Wars 1 where you could just stand alone?
Guild Wars 1, they actually only had one expansion, right? So they had 3 standalone campaigns where you could level a character from 1 to 20 in completely separate content. And you didn't need to buy the original. And then they came out with an expansion that required any one of the 3 original standalones, and then you could do the Eye of the North expansion. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sensing that. I sense that maybe they can do something a little wackier, different with this expansion. You know, we've talked about this before, where they've teased that, hey, we don't even know if we're going to do a traditional expansion, and hey, they might just throw it in. I don't know, but a standalone.
I don't think it's going to be standalone at all.
That'd be pretty out there.
Yeah,
you don't think it's going to be standalone?
No, because look how big Guild Wars 1 world is. You know, like Guild Wars 2 world is huge. Guild Wars 1 was like, you can kind of see how it could be standalone because each campaign had its own like level up. Like you go through 1 through 20, and you can go through that whole story and level up to 20. That was its own game. You know, in Guild Wars 2, like it's huge. Like there's no way that the standalone is gonna have like all that, right? It's not gonna have some type of whole zone 1 through 80.
I guess what I'm saying, what I'm wondering is not just if it's standalone, meaning that if you were to buy the expansion, you don't need to own the original Guild Wars 2. It'll just put you in the world. So, I mean,
Okay, so you're not saying necessarily it's completely separate, stand by itself game,
not like you can't go into the current world of Guild Wars 2. I'm basically saying like buy the expansion, and that's all you need to now play Guild Wars 2 with all of the content.
Oh, like an add-on.
I can
like,
see. No,
it comes with the original game and the expansion.
Yeah, it does not require you to own the original game. So
it might be a little bit more expensive than $60 or whatever the price is right now.
Doesn't have to be.
It would be smart. It would be smart for them to just say, "Hey, buy the expansion box, right? And you get the original Guild Wars for free." And now you got a whole bunch of new players.
Essentially,
I think that's great because they're making their money in the gem store, right? The more players they have on it in there, the better. And I actually, now that you phrased it that way, I could see them doing something like that. I can also see them doing something that the existing players maybe not even have to pay for the expansion. You could do those both at the same time.
All right, but if they do that, then that means they would have to adjust the price. If they're including the original Guild Wars, it's gonna have to be a cut on something. I mean, the original Guild Wars is like what, $40-$50, right? If they give that for free, they're gonna have to raise the price on the expansion, right?
Why?
And
Why?
I mean, well, they're giving something that
it's digital bits at this point. It's digital bits.
Well, yeah, but that's a sell that they otherwise wouldn't have had. I mean, it's either they raise the price and make the expansion, or lower the price, and make the expansion smaller. I don't know what they will qualify as expansion. It has to be really big, right? So
I don't know. I think it'd be a brilliant move. They release the expansion, pay for it. It's like $60, but does not require the original Guild Wars to actually play it. I think that'd be great. I think that would entice a lot of people. Like, I think that would not only entice old players to come back because they're just excited about an expansion, right? And they just be like, oh, let's just see all the new content. It would also, new players would be like, oh, wow. So now we're at an expansion point. I'm excited about some of this new content, and I don't have to go out and spend another $20 or $30 on the game that's a year old. They're actually just going to let me jump into the world and play it. I'm trying to remember if my memory's correcting me, and I'm sure the chat room will remember, but I believe Storm Legion was like that with Rift. I think if you bought Storm Legion, you didn't need to have Rift. They just kind of said, hey, like, here, buy Storm Legion. Boom, play all the original Rift content, and here you go, off to the races. I think that'd be a great thing for them to do at this point with weakening box sales and things like that. I don't know. They'd have to. It's possible. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I like that idea.
Give it all away. Matt says, no, you're crazy. I just want to give it all away.
I don't know, man. We'll see. I just want to get less content because they.
No, I really don't think they. I don't think we're talking about that scenario. I think that they can make a full-fledged expansion and sell it for an expansion price, whatever it's going to be, $30, whatever. And if you buy this and you're an existing Guild Wars player, great, you got the expansion. If you're not an existing Guild Wars player, you buy this expansion and you get the core game for free. And now you're enhancing your player base by doing that, right? You're going to get more people to buy into that instead of saying, oh, well, I have to buy this $50 or $60 core game and then this $30 or $40 expansion. Exactly. I'm not going to do it. So now you just lost out on that player playing and spending money in the gem store. So I think it behooves them to get as many players in there as possible. So, yeah. All
right, talk about the gem store. There's actually an interesting new item that popped up, and no, it's not another musical instrument. The copper-fed salvage-o-matic has arrived, and for 800 gems, you have an infinite-use salvage device that requires 3 copper each time to use it. The question I have for you, Richie, what's the important question here is like, what level of salvage kit is this equivalent to?
All right, so I bought this yesterday. I made a video about it yesterday. So I do have some experience with this. It is a basic salvage kit, and it actually says on the tooltip in the gem store that it does not extract any of the upgrades from the item. And that's not true. I tested it. You can get them out. I can't confirm what percentage of the time that the upgrades actually come out, the sigils and the runes and stuff. But it looks to me like it's acting like a basic salvage kit, which has a 20% chance of removing those upgrades to it. So that's roughly $10 to buy that. It's roughly 31 gold if you want to pay for the gems with in-game currency. It's pretty steep.
I was gonna say 800 gems is a lot. It's pretty steep.
That's a lot.
It's like a pure convenience item, you know.
And a lot of people are balking at the fact that it's not like it's not at least like a master salvage kit or something like that. It's really just the basic. So if you're buying this to make money or to like save money in the long term, no. It'll take you years and years and like 500,000 salvages before you'll make your money back. So it is strictly if you like the little robot voice it makes when you salvage things, or if you like never having to worry about going to a vendor again to buy one of the salvage.
Why do you think they went with basic?
For a person who uses Mystic salvage kits, which are the ones where you can put in the Mystic Forge and you'll get a stack of 250, right?
Yeah.
Those have a way better chance than these basics, right? For the one that you have, right? Mm-hmm. The unlimited one is 10% to recover rare materials, rare crafting materials, and 20% to recover upgrades, says Dolphy.
Yep.
That's not enough. That's not enough. I'd rather just go with the Mystic salvage kit.
I just think if you're salvaging higher tiers like loot, you're gonna want to go for the best salvage kits you possibly can get, not a basic.
Yeah.
So
I'll never use
really who this is aimed for.
I'll never use it for like a rare item. There's no way I'll ever use it for a rare item. But I will use because you're not gonna get your ectos and stuff like that. But with the monthly achievements to get the salvages, where I'm doing 500 and I'm doing mostly blues, whites, and greens, I'm going to use this to do my heavy lifting. Gotcha. And if I eventually, in my career, salvage about 500,000 items, then I will make my money back for sure.
So it's purely a convenience item.
It's totally convenient.
And I don't fully understand the 3 copper per charge use, which is literally nothing. It's like, why is it even there? Like,
it's there to.
It'll add up eventually.
Because, I guess they don't want everybody to get one of these, and then they lost the gold sync element from the salvage kits. Is my guess.
They already did that. They already did that by adding the 10% and 20%. They already did that. I was like, oh, why would I get that? An unlimited black flying salvage kit. Now that I would lay down some money for.
That'd be a little ridiculous.
Is there a backspace issue tied to this? Is this the backspace issue? Because
not really.
No?
I mean, at most you're going to have 2 or 3 slots for salvage kits. It's not a huge deal.
The Mystic salvage kit kind of just solves that problem.
The one saving grace for this item, and it's barely a saving grace, is that it's account bound and not soul bound. So the unlimited mining pick and harvesting axe and the sickle, those the gathering tools which I have, those are soul bound. So if you want them on more than one character, you have to go buy them again, or you had to have gone and bought them again. This one, at least, you can actually send to an alt that you're just leveling up and use it for that. So, I mean, that's kind of good, but overall, this is probably a letdown item for most people.
Yeah, it sure sounds like that's why we want to bring it up. A little bit of a letdown. So if you want a purely convenience item, like Richie said, to kind of do most of your heavy lifting, you got 800 gems to throw at your screen. I guess go for it. If not, save your money and get better salvage kits. All right, let's do some viewer questions. But first, we'll tell you guys about Audible. Want to hook you guys up with a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. Yes, I said free. I'm still in the midst of an amazing book called Ready Player One. Here's a sample.
If each hidden trap door was clearly marked on my map, I was able to avoid all of them. So far, everything had followed the original module to the letter. If the same was true for the rest of the tomb, I might be able to survive long enough to locate the copper key. There were only a few monsters lurking in this dungeon. A gargoyle, a skeleton, a zombie, some asps, a mummy, and the evil demi-lich Acerarak himself. Since the map told me where each of them was hiding, I should be able to avoid fighting them. Unless, of course, one of them was guarding the copper key. And I could already guess who probably had that honor.
All right, nerds. We love D&D books, right? It's awesome. It's not a D&D book, but it goes a lot into MMO culture, gaming culture, D&D, all kinds of crazy, pop culture references and stuff. Like, it seriously is such an awesome book made for us. It's called Ready Player One. It's by Ernest Cline. It's narrated by Will Wheaton. Very, very, very highly rated. Already being called a contemporary sci-fi classic. So you should definitely check out this book. I cannot recommend it enough. And if you go over to audible.com/Gamebreaker, just make sure to use that URL. You can sign up absolutely free and get to use Audible free for 30 days. And like I said, you're going to get a free audio book. So you can choose and get a free audio book. I have been a fan and a subscriber for years, long before they were ever sponsored this show. And I'm super, super happy to have Audible on as a sponsor to help make this show and all the others on Gamebreaker.tv happen. So check it out, audible.com/Gamebreaker. All right, let's do some viewer questions. If you guys have questions for the GuildCast crew, you can send them to submit@Gamebreaker.tv. That is the email address, and we love video questions. So if you guys have a video question, record yourself over on YouTube and keep it like 30 seconds to 60 seconds, hopefully not too much longer than that. And email us the link to the video. That's submit@Gamebreaker.tv is where you can do it. You can also keep an eye on our Facebook page, facebook.com/GamebreakerTV. We look for Twitter as well, so you can kind of hit us up anywhere on the socials. First up from Faison Craighead. He says, there's a rumor going around that people farming the Eye of Zaitan event in Cursed Shore are at risk of being banned. Is there any truth to this? It doesn't sound like something that would be a bad thing. What do we know? What do we know?
Oh, what? Hold up. What? What? No. What do you mean being banned? For what? For what? All ArenaNet can do is just nerf the event if they don't want people to farm it. And I mean, really, come on, guys.
It depends. Is this the one people are failing on purpose? I'm not familiar with this exact farm. If this is the one they're failing on purpose so that they get more champions, as long as you don't complete the event and then everyone dies, and then that could be considered an exploit. As long as you're just running around in a pattern and farming events, I don't see how they could do anything against that.
I can explain this entirely. This is how it goes. You're in ore, right? If you have a big enough group, you can go around ore and farm champions that spawn, right? They have a certain spawn rate. You go there and you kill the champion. You waypoint, go to the next champion, kill that champion. You waypoint, go to the next champion, you kill the champion. You go around and killing champions. There is a escort quest, right? That when you go, champions will spawn as you're escorting the escorts, escorting the people, right? And it's actually not easy to actually complete the event when there's a lot of people around, because a lot of people don't kind of get the system. Bombs spawn on certain people, and if you don't go away from the NPCs, they blow up, and they blow up the NPCs, yada yada. If you complete this event, right, it goes into another event where you try to take over this camp. Now, when you're trying to take over this camp, a lot of champions spawn, a lot, over and over again. If you fail it, it returns back to the escort. And that's what we do. And then after that, we just go and keep going around the whole ore and keep getting the champions.
So what I would say to anyone who's doing this is go around and cycle through events, but do not involve yourself in any kind of collaboration with other people to actually fail that event on purpose and go back to the escort, go back to the champions, go back to the escort, go back to
because that is what's happening.
Do that.
I believe that is what they're talking about, and that's what's happening here.
I think ArenaNet would have fixed it already if they didn't want that to happen. I mean, it's been going on for days now. That doesn't make any sense.
It could be harder for them to change than we think. So I don't know. If you're just, I mean, there's tons of these farms that have been set up. There's someone in Frost Gorge. There's some in the various zones in Ore. There are ways to farm champions. I think champion farming was absolutely something that they wanted to introduce with this, right? They actually said they want to bring back people to Ore and stuff like that. So I don't think you have a problem farming champion events or figuring out a good loop that has that. And if ArenaNet then feels like people are getting too much too quickly, then they can tone that down and make the respawns happen at a different time and stuff like that. That's on them. But if there is a way that you can kind of mess with the mechanics a little bit, just be warned. ArenaNet's, in the past has, even though you could say all you want, the defense is ArenaNet shouldn't allow it. It's their problem. They should fix it. We know that they will actually ban people or discipline people for taking advantage of those types of mechanics. So just be a little careful.
Well, guess what? If ArenaNet, if Arena doesn't want this being done, they should probably say something, right? First, right? And then second of all, there's no way they will be able to ban everyone because everyone is doing it. I mean, thousands of players. People are coming from other servers.
But are
thousands
of people failing that portion of
yes,
the loop?
Yes. All working together.
What they'll do, I mean, if you remember the great snowflake caper of Winter's Day 2012, all right, what they will do is they will take the top offenders. They will take the people that, all right, they have a list. They'll say, all right, these people over the last 3 days were in ore, and they have, 20,000 champion bags, and this is like the top 3% of the people, and like the next tier of people have only gotten like 1,000 champion bags. They'll take that top that have really exploited it to the max and make an example of them. So I'm not defending either side here. I'm just saying what they have done in the past, and be careful. That's it.
If you're scared, then don't do it. But really, like, I need an email if I shouldn't be touching this thing or something. I need a Twitter post on Guild Wars 2 because there's no way.
That was the big problem with the snowflake thing, right?
This gets really gray. Like, it's such open up to interpretation, because there's people on one side that are going to say, like, if they don't want it like this, they should fix it. But you know what? They didn't intend for people to like throw in the towel and fail like an event. You're not playing the way they intended to play, which could be looked at as an exploit. So I kind of agree with Richie, where I think that if they do have a problem with it, they should at least communicate something, though, at some point, and at least make a statement and just say, hey, we are looking into this, and you should not be doing this. We are considering this an exploit, and figure something out at a later time. So if that is a problem, they probably should say something sooner than later.
I think better communication would be good as well, but I'm bringing back that snowflake thing on purpose, because that was exactly what the problem was then, is ArenaNet didn't really say anything about it, and so people kind of assumed, hey, we're allowed to do this.
What was the snowflake?
People found like a near endless loop with one of the pristine snowflake recipes, where they could craft an exotic, salvage it, get most of the mats, including the rare thing back, and they would just create this near endless loop of material. So they thought, this is a great way to make money, and so they kept doing it. And it went several days of them. They posted on the forums. They said, "Is this okay?" They got no response from ArenaNet, so people thought it was okay. And then boom, bans came down. So the lack of communication, I would not interpret as a green light.
No. Because, I mean, what this is going to do is obviously going to throw the balance of champion loopbacks completely off the charts. I mean, by doing this and exploiting this, like this loop that you can kind of do, it's going to screw the numbers completely on what they can sort of anticipate for as far as like items and loot basically in the world. So it definitely affects them in probably a way that they were not expecting. So I would not be surprised if they were to do something similar and ban people at the top level. I know Matt doesn't want to hear that. Matt's got sad face, but
no. I know they're not going to ban people for this, because it's not the same as a snowflake. That's obvious. That's obvious.
I'm not saying it's the same as a snowflake.
It's. I don't know.
Are you saying that that's not an exploit?
Could be.
Are you saying that you don't think that's an exploit? Failing them on purpose? Really?
No, I don't think it's.
It's not the way the game's intended.
I could understand I could understand people's point of view. For me, like, I don't know. They're looking at the crowd. From my point of view, is like, man, everyone's kind of having fun with it. Like, there's not many events like this. It's just like the Crown Pavilion. People are in there all the time and keep doing it over and over again. You remember when they had all those champions in there, right? And people were just kept doing it over and again. The events used to spawn way quicker than that.
Yep.
What happened? They nerfed it.
Yep.
What happened was with this. They didn't nerf it. Maybe it's intended. I don't know. I mean, yes, we're getting a lot of gold, right, for people who do it. For me, some people can farm longer than a certain time, but for some reason, at a certain amount of time, diminishing returns hits me, and then I kind of stop. So I can't farm like all day or anything like that. So I'm assuming if diminishing returns hits me, just like every other farming spot, it's fine. I'm farming and I'm getting lots of profit, and then going back. I even know I haven't gotten any skins yet. Has gotten skins.
There's a difference between farming something that's in the game and purposely failing something so that you can get even more rewards from actually doing it. And that's the big difference. The example you made in the Crown Pavilion, there used to be champions that spawned in the Centaur area, and people were farming that, and they thought that shouldn't happen, and they took it out, and they didn't ban anybody as far as I know for that. But if it comes down that there's a certain percentage of players making so many more champion loot bags than the rest of the population because they are purposely coordinating and failing that event, I wouldn't be surprised if they did something about that. So that's all I'm saying. I think it's a little bit different.
All right, next up from Jacob Vincent. Jacob says, what would you like to see happen with the next set of legendary items? Mr. Matt gonna get banned top 3% visual?
My mind is still on that. Like,
you guys want to keep fighting about it? You totally can. I think it's a great. We go back to good. No, because it's an endless debate. Because like the gray line of when these things pop up in any game is always different for different players. So it's like where my line is completely different from your line. Like, you know, I'm kind of agreeing more with Richie. Like, I get it. You know, I can see where some gamers come from the perspective of just like, hey man, I didn't make the game. You guys put it in the game. So if that's the way it is, it's not an exploit. I can see your point as well, right? They need to fix something. But again, I'm kind of on Richie's side when he says, like, you know, you're not just farming an area that they built, you know, they obviously wanted to encourage farming. You're purposely failing a portion of that area to increase your gain in that area, which is not what they intended, I'm sure, when they designed this thing. They didn't make this with some feedback loop and go like, right here, they're all going to figure out how to fail it. And they're going to like come up with this thing and they're going to do 10 times the amount. It's perfect. It's fine. I doubt they sat around and figured that out and kind of worked that through. I'm pretty sure that you guys found that on your own.
That's crazy how like there's no farmers in the chat. Like all of them are on Richie's side talking about
I'm farming Frostgorge. I've been farming that. I mean, you should listen to my guild.
Yeah, that's another area.
They think I'm an addict because I've been farming. I just think it's fun. It's absolutely fun to farm this. And
you get rewarded. It's a guaranteed
great rewards
for a box. And I'm like, wow, you actually feel rewarded for killing a champion. I've been enjoying it.
I got the Princess Bride. I got the Princess Bride rapier. I sold it for 38 gold the other night. I'm a happy guy. So I'm not against farming, and I think this champion loot thing is great for the game. And I think in Matt's defense and anyone's defense who makes the argument that Gary mentioned a few minutes ago about, hey, you know, if it's a problem, then ArenaNet should fix it. The defense of that is most games or a lot of game companies that we've played would take that approach with this, right? They would say they wouldn't ban people necessarily for this. They would actually fix it when they could, and then those people that got away with it, they got away with it. I'm going from the standpoint of ArenaNet's history with this sort of thing, and they've been pretty harsh with this type.
They're probably going to ban you, Matt, and then they're going to post your picture on Reddit. And they're gonna point you out
with bars, and then they're gonna go,
I farmed.
This was the watch we were gonna send you, Matt.
Oh no!
Look, I see both sides.
Please
I see both sides of
watch.
it. The big thing is, like I said, it's a gray area, and I think the line is just different for different players. So hopefully, like I said, communication would be the best things. If they, I don't get totally why if there is something happening like this, and even in the past, I don't really. Maybe it's just something I'm not like thinking about, but I don't fully understand why ArenaNet wouldn't immediately at least make a statement and just say, hey, we are looking into this, but this is not what we intend. Because then they could at least communicate to maybe not every player, but a good portion of the players who maybe pay attention to shows and forums and podcasts would hear about this and then realize like, oh, and then Matt, gold farming, extraordinaire over here wouldn't have so much of a gray line where he could defend it. He could just be like, oh, they said this, they don't want me to do this, so I clearly should stop doing this. And
I think part of the reason why they're not doing that is because as soon as they make an official statement like, "Hey, this is not intended. Please don't do this," everybody goes and does it. And now they have a bigger problem, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why they don't do that.
If they go and do it anyway, they should get banned for that.
Well, I mean, that just puts more work on them. There's going to be a certain amount of people. There will be a certain amount of people.
So what should
see that and go and do it.
What should be the penalty then if this is not like, let's say they don't ban anybody and they just say, hey, we realize you guys didn't really realize that this is the way it wasn't supposed to work. Should they at least take some of that stuff back? Should they give those top 1 to 3% people who have just farmed a insane amount of champion loot bags? Like, should they revert those players back and pull a percentage of those bags away from them?
Oh, I hate rollbacks. That's like Walmart. No, I hate dude, in MapleStory, that's all they used to do is rollbacks. And it doesn't matter, like you will hear like, oh yeah, people have been farming this thing, and all of a sudden all those levels that you gained that day were just rolled back. And you didn't even do anything. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
If they could do it separately, like
Oh yeah, I wasn't saying server rollback. Well, I wasn't saying server rollback. I was talking individual. Okay. I said that top 1%. If they took those few characters and they said, "Hey, Matt Visual, you've got too many loot bags. We're gonna pull some of those back from you."
The problem is, I would accept that, right? Especially if they have the numbers that show that these, this 1% grossly abuse this, then sure. But it still comes back to, do they have the tech to do that?
Yeah,
and I'm not sure that they do from the way that they've handled these situations in the past. So
I kind of think you're right.
I don't know.
All right, let's go back to Jacob Vincent's question here. Let's get back on track. What would you like to see happen with the next set of legendary items, Mr. Matt Visual?
Oh man, I would. A lot of people are not happy with certain sets of the items with the legendaries right now, and since all these new skins are coming out that are a lot cheaper than the legendaries, it's like, why not just get one of these cheaper items than the legendaries? There's no point, right? I would like to see them update maybe some of the legendaries that they had that aren't like too popular. They don't have footsteps and stuff like that. They're not really special in any type of way. And maybe add some different varieties to like for instance, people who don't like the rainbows of the short bow. They don't like the big a nice awesome unicorn on their short bow. Maybe make another legendary short bow that's something totally different, a little bit more manly, a little bit more masculine. And definitely I would like to see, since legendaries, you can switch the stats, right? Later on this year you'll be able to switch the stats to any combo that you want. I would like to see legendary armor, because if you could switch the stats on a legendary armor, guess what? You won't have to buy any armor anymore. You would be able to switch your builds, right? Which they probably should add like a template build thing. Even if I have to pay for it, I'll pay for it from the gem store. Some build thing that can unlock slots and have my builds ready to swap, like at midway. And you'll be able to switch your stat combos and everything on your legendary armor, and it will be what? It will be worth it. It'll be worth getting a legendary just because of the stat combo switching. Just because of that.
That's got a lot of good ideas right there.
Oh yeah. It's the best thing ever. I'm going for it as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, I'd like to see different slots for the legendaries as well. So the armor slots, legendary armor would be great. I would like there to be, like Matt was saying, so you know what? I've been playing Cube World a lot, and the customizations on the weapon, the per pixel thing. I mean, I took an axe, and I posted this on Twitter last night. I took an axe and I turned it into an elephant with a trunk and everything and ears, and that weapon's awesome. So having a legendary that you can customize somehow, even if it was choose the glow effect, or like Matt said, turn the unicorns into bats or something like that. That would be great. Make it more unique. Make it you're more more of a special flower. I also, in terms of acquiring it, I would like them to not have random chance things like the precursor, because that's just terrible. I like more guaranteed things, even if they're very difficult or very time consuming. And I would like to see some of the things that you have to do to be skill based and not necessarily like time based. So yeah, put something in like defeat Liadri, the boss, with the gambits running, and that's how you get one of your gifts or something like that. Put something excruciatingly hard, some ways to pick that up, so that there are a different type of player that can acquire them than just those that have unlimited resources.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing with the scavenger hunt. They're adding like a formula, like, okay, you need to go get this from this world and go get this from this end of the world, and then buy this after you complete this event to get Obi shards to, form your precursor. Because right now those prices are too damn high, right? And when people look at it, they're like, man, I can't reach 500 gold for Dawn or whatever it is, Spark or all those other legendaries. It's too big. When eventually, if you keep playing throughout the events, each event there's always some new ways to earn money, right? But it does take a while, and I think that's what legendaries are supposed to aim for. But it's the point: is it worth it? Is it worth all that time consuming just to get that legendary? It's up to people to really make that decision for themselves.
All right, lesson this week from Carmen Peroni. Carmen says, do you think the increase of the living story events changing every 2 weeks is hurting the player base, which want to explore and map the world instead of event farming? Some areas become ghost towns, minus a few zones, or when there is no world bosses. What do you think, Richie?
I'm not experiencing this exactly, but there is an effect that I think is related. The fact that there's, like, if you want to experience these living story things, right, and you want to get all of the meta achievements and get as many achievements that you can, then it leaves very little time, at least for me, to do anything else, right? I have an alt that I've been leveling forever, and I would like to just sit there, on a given night and just do nothing but level them up and, do their personal story and stuff like that. But I find I need, like, every free night that I have available to actually do the current content, because next week they're going to put out another patch and there's going to be all new achievements and stuff like that. So there is a little bit of an element of that. They're experiencing it from the point of view of there's so many people doing the new stuff that there's nobody out in the world just kind of leveling up tunes and stuff like that. So I could see that being a factor as well. So yeah, I think there is an interesting side effect that goes along with this. So yeah,
they do try though. It's not like they don't. They add, like, for instance, the balloons, and they do that with the dragon holographic stuff as well. They add it into the world so people can go out there and do that. And now, like, they'll go for the balloons, right? But if there's a champion that spawned, they will go, and go get the champions now because of the loot bags. So there's an interesting dynamic here. This is the only event that actually brung everyone to, like, or Frost Gorge or the Crown Pavilion. This is the only event that actually did that. No other events really brought the community, like, together and, like, okay, we need to fail this event to get the best stuff. Like, no other event has done this. So, like, those places were dead from before. In my opinion, I've been leveling a couple characters, and I've been trying to see how to actually level efficiently nowadays, because before, in the beginning of Guild Wars 2, there was events everywhere. People were everywhere. Now, there's less people. And if you're not with your guild, if you don't have a couple friends, it's kind of empty. So, I mean, they are trying with adding this, the balloons and the dragon holographic stuff, and but yeah, I think what they're adding in is good. People who are very active in Guild Wars 2 would like to have events, so there is a side effect, but there has to be something to do for everyone, and if you don't play as much, then you might miss out, but I mean, you do get 2 weeks.
Matt Visual, you can follow him on Twitter at Matt_Visual. Don't forget the underscore. It's Matt, MATT_Visual. Always a pleasure, Matt. Back to farming.
Thank you. Yes.
Richie Procopio, follow him on Twitter. Follow him on Twitter. Follow Richie Procopio on Twitter. It's a new service.
Don't do that. Don't follow me there. I'd like to keep that private.
Follow him on Twitter at Richie Procopio, and of course go over to his YouTube channel, Bog Otter, and of course right here on the GuildCast. You can follow me at Gary Gannon, follow Gamebreaker TV at Gamebreaker TV. Send your questions to submit at Gamebreaker.tv. Be on the lookout. We're going to start a new community cast thing here to let you guys know what's happening. I know there's a lot of changes going on with Gamebreaker. You guys have a lot of questions. What's going on with the Gamebreaker Nation? Why are you guys launching new sites? All this kind of stuff. So I'm going to, sometime in the next few days or next week, launch a new sort of like quick community cast thing where we kind of talk about all the stuff that's going on. So take a look out for that. We do the show live every single Wednesday at 6 PST. So come on over for the live show. Always a good time. Richie, Matt, always a pleasure. And have a great week. We'll see you next week for some more GuildCast.